What is considered socially unacceptable for no reason? Story 1. Accepting something that someone offered you. This is mostly in the Middle East, I think, but it's really frustrating for foreigners because a foreigner will never know the correct time to accept an offer. If someone offers to buy you dinner, there's a very delicate balance of refusing and accepting. You have to refuse like 4 to 5 times, but if you refuse more than that, you'll also offend the other person. But if you don't refuse it several times adamantly, then you'll look greedy and selfish. If they fail to offer it insistently for like 4 to 5 times, they'll look like they didn't mean the offer, and they aren't generous. A lot of Middle Easterners are shocked when they come to a Western country, and they say something like, "Hey, let me pay for this." And the other person says, "Oh, okay, thanks." Shocked Pikachu face. It takes a while to get used to the fact that Westerners will just take you up on the offer. At first, it feels like Westerners are greedy, and they want to take advantage of your generosity. But that's not the case. It's just a different culture, and it makes more sense to accept an offer straight up instead of a whole theater production first. But Middle Eastern people need that theater production to feel everyone's been proper and polite. One time, a group of us were in a Middle Eastern country, and in a way to celebrate our friendship, they wanted to put on a show for us. This is when I learned a major difference between Western culture and Arab culture. See, Arabs will keep a show going until their guests leave, and Westerners will stay until the end of the show. So we had two groups of people becoming increasingly frustrated with each other because the Americans won't leave and let us stop performing, was clashing with, "Oh my God, can they just end the show already?" I say, "No, it's okay," once. Then when they insist the second time, I say, "Okay. I'm getting coffee, do you want one?" "No, that's okay." "No, really, I'll grab it. What do you want?" "Oh, okay, thanks. Black, please." I just hate that I have to buy coffee tomorrow for them, and it's a perpetual, it's my turn to buy. I don't want to spend $6 every other day on coffee. But if I constantly refuse, then I'm the jerk. I also can get free coffee at work, but everyone seems to want to buy their Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever. Story 2. In some places, calling in sick because it's letting down the team or whatever. Screw off, I'm sick as a dog. There's little I will accomplish other than feeling like death warmed up, so you aren't missing out on much. Plus, I could spread whatever I've got to coworkers. Then we're all sick. If I'm sick, you shouldn't want me at work, because then everyone else will get freaking sick, and it ruins productivity in the office. The only possible reason for demanding a doctor's note is if you think for some reason I'm lying about being sick. And considering I'm sick, I'm not going to get one, because screw you, I'm sick. So what makes you think I'm leaving the house for a stupid bit of paper? And to be clear, I'm not talking about you, the commenter. I'm talking about bosses, etc. at work locations. The doctor's note is such crap. You can be sick and not need to go to the doctor. Why would you spend the money to go to the doctor for them to tell you to go buy some Mucinex and rest? I was once shamed for missing work for having a miscarriage. Worst job I've ever had. Glad to be out of there. Story 3. Using swings or playground equipment as an adult. I freaking love going on the swings. I'm 30 and it still fascinates me that I can quickly and easily get 10 to 15 feet or higher in the air with some simple leg movement. One day I was at a fairly deserted local park on the swings, having the time of my life. Suddenly, Karen shows up with her 2 ankle biters, hands on her hips, and yells at me, "What are you doing on there? The swings are for the kids, not adults." My tax dollars paid for these swings, and there's no sign saying that I can't, so I'll use them as much as I dang well please, whenever I want. How much tax did little Jonathan and little Kimberley pay last year? None? Guess they can't use the swings either. Some more info. I'm in British Columbia, Canada. The swings were not the crappy weak ones, but had thick chains and rubber seats. I'm sure they were more than capable of holding my 190-pound self. I didn't tell Karen to screw off, but I did tell her to have a nice day. Don't let your inner kid die. Nothing wrong with getting a little high now and then. The Kimberley killed me. How is this unacceptable? I'm in my 40s and still jump off those motherfrickers. Swing high, jump off, hope for a soft landing. Story 4. Not answering your own door. When there's like a salesman at someone's door, they won't want to answer, but they'll act like no one's home and be really quiet so the person outside the door doesn't hear them. But it's your house. I could just stare at a salesman out the window as he rings my bell. Who cares? It's my house. I don't have to answer my own door for whatever reason I deem acceptable. You came to my house, not the other way around. My neighbor also came to my house the other day, rang my doorbell, and I was trying to put my son down for a nap, so I didn't go down. But then she messaged my wife and was like, "Hey, your garage is open. I can see someone is home. Why didn't you answer?" So then my wife messages me asking why I didn't answer. What the frick? For whatever reason I choose. I had a good one this time, but maybe I'm asleep. Maybe I'm taking a shower, or a poop, or in the backyard, or maybe I'm scratching my nuts on the couch. Maybe screw yourself, it's my house. You took your shot to see if I'd answer, and I didn't. Move on. Yes, a couple years ago I was really bothered with how many times neighbors would come to my door to nag and gossip and ask me questions about other neighbors. Then my mom told me that I don't have to answer the door. Haven't done since, and haven't been sucked into other neighbors' drama since. If I'm not expecting someone, I just don't answer the door. The image I got of you staring at the salesman as he waits at the door made me chuckle. Story 5. Being single. Some people are okay not being in a relationship for some time and are perfectly happy, but other people just don't understand that. I sometimes feel like others assume something is wrong with me because I'm not in a relationship. That is, that no one wants me. I'm the only one in my family and friends group who doesn't have a life partner. Watch Daniel Sloss' Jigsaw. He brilliantly and hilariously makes the point that most relationships are BS anyway, and it's better to learn to be happy on your own. Story 6. Pooping in a public bathroom. It's not necessarily unacceptable, but it's something that always elicits a reaction of discomfort and often disapproval. I've definitely heard people loudly exclaim that they could tell someone just took a poop in the bathroom, acting all disgusted. I mean, they didn't poop on the floor, they went to the proper pooping receptacle. It just shouldn't mean anything and shouldn't be worth commenting on. People poop in bathrooms. If you're in a public bathroom and you didn't know it, that's where people poop. Stop acting surprised when a bathroom smells like people did what people do in bathrooms. For a long time, I had poop anxiety over this. Now I let my bowels rip so the whole shopping mall feels my mighty rumble. Story 7. My dad gets super offended when I put my elbows on the table. I still don't know why. For those of you wondering if it's because my dad was beaten for not having table manners, no. While my grandpa was drunk, he didn't beat his children. Plus, my dad puts his elbows on the table and doesn't reprimand anyone but me. He flicks or hits my elbows off the table when I do it. I always thought this was a stupid rule that made dining more difficult, and therefore I tended to ignore it, depending on the setting. However, one day I put my elbows on a table that had a central pedestal instead of 4 legs and spilled everyone's drinks. I instantly thought about how that rule makes sense, now that I know why. But I think the better rule would be, don't put your weight on the table until you're certain of its strength and stability. Similarly, don't sit on tables that unfold without making sure they're not going to dump you on your butt. Not that I have personal experience with that, of course. I've interviewed for a decent amount of positions over the past 10 years, and what I've come to learn is that, assuming you have the luxury of being a bit picky with your job and aren't just desperate for money, then it's always best to be completely honest with yourself and with the interviewer. So if you honestly feel that you would get bored of a job after a short while, then you'd only be doing yourself a disservice by lying in an interview that ultimately leads to a job that you hate. But if you're honest up front, then sure, they may say no, but that does you a favor by cutting out jobs that are incompatible with your work style. So if you treat the interview as a search for something that fits your needs, rather than feeling like you have to dupe someone into believing you that you fit theirs so that they'll hire you, then you'll have a better chance at finding a true match. Story 8. Laying down in public. Edit. Out of all the replies, nobody has mentioned the way to fix this. A pillow. Simply bust out a pillow and then you get half as many weird looks. Source. Likes to lay. If you lie down on the floor in McDonald's, you get to meet the manager. Context and location is key here. Are you in the middle of the street, in the park, on the grass, on a shop floor, or somewhere else people wouldn't generally expect someone to be lying down? Story 9. Playing pretend as an adult without kids involved. There's nothing wrong with an adult man building Legos and setting up an epic adventure with them that plays out in his head as something amazing. It's escapism and very calming. Even in adults, it stimulates the mind to have a self-made adventure where everything is what I want. Oh man, this is exactly what Dungeons & Dragons are for. It takes 4 to 6 grown butt dudes sitting around playing pretend and makes it socially acceptable. So anyway, in answer to the original poster, middle-aged people playing Dungeons & Dragons. If you're going to sit in the basement pretending to be an elf, you might as well do it with friends. Story 10. Waking up at 11 a.m. or later. I'm not lazy. My responsibilities are taken care of. I stay up late and value my sleep hours. I stay up till 6 a.m. and wake up at 2. I'm a self-employed artist and I'm most productive at night. Even as a kid, I always stayed up and slept in. People assume I'm lazy, but I'm not productive at all in the morning. So screw that noise. Night owls for the win. Hey, me too. I've never felt so validated about my messed up schedule. Everything I make in the morning is garbage and ends up being redone when I have my head on straight in the evening. Story 11. Having fun as an adult. Fun has no expiration date. You don't suddenly no longer qualify for fun and have to live a life of watching the news and drinking coffee. People shame adults for doing fun things, and that's absolute freaking BS. Yes, I'm 38 and I enjoy swings, jumping on trampolines, having a balloon with helium. People look at me like I'm mad or being childish, but when they try it with me, they enjoy it too. I always get my face painted. Royal Adelaide Show, like a state fair, check. At family-friendly events that say they have a face painter, check. School fundraisers, check. It's amazing the amount of people that make a big deal out of it. I'm a 28-year-old woman and I get my face painted. Big deal. Having more fun than your grumpy butt. Story 12. Talking about the money you make or your salary. I've talked about salary with coworkers a few times in my career. A couple times I found out I was underpaid. I asked for more money on my next review and was given what I asked. Sometimes companies overpay new hires when they're desperate for somebody good. The worst thing that can happen is their best, most experienced employees find out about it. Salary secrecy is always beneficial to the company, never to the employee. So true. Someone told me at my old company, giant food multinational, that they were told by HR that they could be terminated or written up for discussing salary. I was livid when I heard that. Story 13. Leaving without giving an acceptable song and dance about why you are leaving. Leaving because you've basically reached your limit with socializing being not a good enough reason. People who can stand to be around other people for huge amounts of time, more power to you. But me, I can't do that, and I don't want to have to make up an excuse to do so. I've recently started to not give reasons why I'm leaving. Okay, I've got to head out. No one ever asks, but if they did, I'd probably be honest. My social battery is drained and I need to rest. People seem to understand that a lot more nowadays. The Irish exit exists for a reason, my dude. Story 14. Showing distaste for one's family in any way, shape, or form. My aunt and uncle have both tried to drown me. Every time I express my dislike for them, I always hear, "Wow, I guess you're not very family-oriented. That's very heartless of you. I'm sure you don't mean it." I sure as hell mean it. Just because you're in the same family as me, I'm not bound by law to like you or to pretend that I do. Family members can be buttholes to you, and people need to understand that. Screw my family. Why is blood so important to some people? You shouldn't be obligated to keep toxic people in your life just because you're biologically related. Story 15. Standing on a roof, sometimes. Why can't I stand on my dang roof? It's my business if I break my legs. Edit. Nudity is illegal, of course, I was clothed. Also, no, they didn't think I was committing non-aliveness. What's going on here? I feel like there's some deep-rooted tension between you and someone who won't let you stand on your roof. Like, do your neighbors not like it when you stand on your roof? No, they do not. Got the cops called on me, even though that makes no sense. Story 16. Wearing the same clothes 2 days in a row. I'm from the States, and I visited Italy when I was a teenager. It was so weird to me at the time that people there wore the same clothes a few days in a row, but now I think, why not? If the clothes aren't dirty or smelly, they're still good to wear. Wait, that's a thing? I wear my clothes 2 to 3 days in a row. But then again, I live in Europe where it's cold and I almost don't sweat. Didn't know that was a thing. Story 17. Running everywhere instead of walking. When I see someone running that looks like they shouldn't be, not wearing running gear, I admittedly do assume suspicion. College campus is the one place this doesn't look out of place. 30+ people have already commented about airports as well. We get it. Story 18. Refusing generosity. It's perfectly all right to politely decline. even though others would vilify you for being ungrateful and cold. Edit, I am pleasantly surprised to learn everyone's perspectives on this. It seems to be different in other countries. The world doesn't seem so small right now. I was raised to always refuse generosity. It's crazy how it varies depending on country and family. Same, I was taught that people are only offering to be polite and don't actually want to do what they're offering. This one is super cultural. Story 19. Going out to eat at a restaurant alone. Like, dang people, I just want a nice meal that I don't have to cook and want to enjoy a night out by myself. Completely agree. This also reminds me of my favorite quote from the live-action Grinch movie. Dinner plans with myself? I can't cancel that again. The movie has so many great one-liners. Story 20. Apparently self-defense isn't allowed in schools. I guess I just have to accept the beating. I say it's better to take a school punishment and show the bully who he's messing with than getting abused for the rest of the years at school. You stay strong. A detention punishment is only temporary, while abuse lasts a long butt time. Totally. I wish more parents realize this. Story 21. Skipping as an adult. It's unfortunate because it's faster than walking and much more fun than running. I had an employee 15 years ago who was walking out of the office the same time I was. He was a middle-aged fella with a couple of kids. He started skipping. I said, "Dennis, why are you skipping?" He responded, "When's the last time you skipped? It feels great." Dennis lived in a better dimension than many of us. Be the change you want to see. I will join you. Story 22. Saying no to something without giving an explanation. I got in trouble in school when on a field trip, and the guy running it asked me if I wanted to be in charge of running the snack cart or getting the money during the break. No thank you. He looked horrified, and I got called rude by my teacher. Story 23. 40-plus-year-old male at a playground. Yes, I have no partner. Yes, that's my 6-year-old kid having a blast. No, I'm not a pedophile, but thank you for your questions and passive glasses. Which ones are yours? I don't know yet. Just browsing. Story 24. Wearing a surgical mask when you're sick to prevent giving the illness to others. It's socially acceptable in Japan. It's even encouraged. I wore a surgical mask to school because I was sick. I'm also Japanese, but I live in the US, and got reported to the principal's office immediately. Story 25. According to a recent post on the internet, apparently it's not okay for a man to show affection toward his son. Also, hats indoors. No one has given me a valid reason why I need to tell students to take their hats off. Can confirm. My dad hasn't hugged me or told me he loves me since I was like 8. Not because he doesn't, it's just like something he never does, so now it's too awkward to start. Story 26. Not getting someone a gift when they say that they don't want anything. I hate that. I legitimately don't want anything. Don't get me a gift. If you feel bad, get me a card. I save all my cards. My in-laws do this every Christmas. I legitimately don't want anything, so I get weird things instead. Story 27. Walking your cat. Reminds me of when some old man yelled at me and wanted to call the cops because cats aren't dogs and you can't walk them. Get a goldfish, put it in a fishbowl, put the fishbowl in a wagon, walk the fish. Stare old man in the eyes as you do so. Story 28. There are a ton of rules around clothing that are completely arbitrary nonsense, and I don't even just mean workplace dress codes and gendered clothing that are obvious BS. Even in casual situations, jeans and a flannel shirt are normal. But if you wore plaid flannel pajama pants and a denim shirt, you would look psychotic. That's just an excuse for you to go out to buy groceries in your pajamas, and I respect it. Story 29. Being the first person to get up from your chair when snacks are brought into a meeting room, there's always that one hero that does it, though, so that others can get in line. Because I'm scared of looking like I'm starving or like I'm fat. People can see that I'm fat whether I stand up first or not. Edit decided to influence my local meteorological condition. Story 30. Ladies can call their friends her girlfriends, but a man absolutely cannot call his friends his boyfriends. That's not fair. My best buddy refers to me as his heterosexual life mate. That one's okay by me. Let my boys hug and have feelings, dang it. Story 31. Realizing you're walking the wrong way and then turning around and going back. You just stop walking for a second, do the thinking motion a la, "Oh, I believe I forgot something," and then turn back. I'm experienced in this. Story 32. Standing backwards in an elevator. My girlfriend stood backwards in the elevator for the Space Needle, just staring at me because she's super afraid of heights. I knew why, but she looked like a crazy serial killer for sure. Story 33. Sometimes I need to adjust my dong. It's unacceptable depending on the location and what you're wearing. It's easier to change the position of your dong when wearing a hoodie. Story 34. Napping at work during my lunch break. I don't really need food in the afternoon. What I really need is a nap. Funny part is that I need the nap because of the lunch. Story 35. Not wanting to hold other people's babies. Just gotta drop one. You will never be asked to hold another again. Story 36. Eating lunch alone in your car at work. It's quiet, comfortable, and I don't have to make small talk when I'm trying to have some me time out of the office. Story 37. Turning down an invitation to go out simply because you'd rather stay home with your pets, save money, and preserve your mental health in glorious solitude. Story 38. Talking to yourself. Not in a crazy way, but just mumbling or thinking out loud. Story 39. Hopping on one leg everywhere you go. Thank you. Story 40. I'm a grown man and I love flowers. Not even masculine flowers. I have an orchid collection. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.